He sticks it up to all of us who have been giving him grief.
I think that's sensational.
And he can be one of the best players in the league.
I still think there's a little bit of wiggle room in Popovic's squad.
Sydney has actually baited this perfectly. My wife was like, "What's going on?" I was like, "What's this?"
I shouldn't be throwing stones. I should have stopped right there.
Oh, that is special. Unbelievable. This, ladies and gentlemen, is football.
Hello and welcome back to Total A-Leagues for another week. I'm Vince Rugari, joined as usual by Tommy Orr, Daniel McBreen. What's cracking, boys?
Good to be back.
Nearly Christmas.
Yeah, it is.
Getting excited.
Yes, this is our penultimate show before our little break before Christmas, so looking forward to that. Before we look too far ahead, we're going to look back quickly, or listen actually last week to Nostradamus over here and what he came up with.
We know how quickly football can change.
That's right.
Seriously, a player, if Vergos was to play this weekend and get 2 goals, all of a sudden he's like, bang, bangs one in next week, and
That's
everyone's,
right.
he's back.
Yeah, that's
and it's
right.
all done. And that's how quickly it can change in football.
Now,
There you go.
Look, I for one never doubted Nikos Vergos. I don't think you did either,
No.
Tommy. You know, we've always been right behind him on this show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We never questioned
So
it.
he's back.
Yeah.
He's back. He's back 100%. And, you know, just ask me, and I'll tell you what's going to happen this week.
So his brace is your moment of the round just gone, Macca?
It has to be. When you've got a player and a club who have been copping it for not scoring goals, and then he steps up and back in the starting lineup and gets a double. And I feel, as an ex-player, you feel for it because we've all been through these, well, we're all going on, 14 games without a goal? I went way longer without scoring in my career, many times, I'm sure. But that sense of relief and, you know, fair play to him. He sticks it up to all of us who have been giving him grief, and good on him. Can change quickly.
It can.
I
Well,
agree.
hopefully he can back it up.
I think the confidence you could see he took from getting that monkey off his back and getting that first goal, because obviously he got 2 goals, but it was just his performance as well. And he was just a threat in the box the whole game, and it really gave him that focal point that they haven't had.
Yeah. Your moment, Thomas?
Yeah, for me, it was Abel Walatee getting a goal on his first start for Sydney FC. Obviously coming in for Joe Lolly, massive shoes to fill, and getting on the score sheet. Yeah, great. I think now in the 11 games he started in the A-League, he's got 5 goals, which is quite a good return for such a young player. And I think he's a hugely exciting talent, so it's great to see him kind of kickstart his season.
Yeah, he is a very good talent. And I didn't know he had that goal-scoring record from starts, which is impressive. But just to be in that right position, his positioning's good. I think he's an exciting talent for the future.
Yeah, got levels. Sydney FC will turn him into a bit of cash soon enough, I think, as well.
Yep.
For me, it was Newcastle Jets being back to their free-flowing and explosive best in attack. Some question marks over the course of the start of the season over how real this project is that Mark Milligan has been building. Obviously, the Australia Cup in the off-season and some wobbles here and there. But for me, just fantastic to see any team, to be honest, in the league attacking this confidently, but especially a team of young Aussies, a team with a coach who I think is going to do extremely well as a coach, trying some different things. And it's working for the Jets. They lead the league in touches in the opposition's box. XG, they're second in goals and third in possession. Obviously some question marks at the back end that they need to address and some things to tighten up, but I think there's a pretty good foundation there for the Jets going forward. And really, what was the result in the end? What was Eli Adams afterwards saying they should have won 7-1 or something like that?
Yeah.
Should have.
They left so many goals there on the table in the end.
How was it 0-0 at half-time? I
Unbelievable.
couldn't believe it. But you're right, Eli Adams, he was fantastic, came on after 5 minutes. Clayton Taylor.
Yeah.
Now, he's been out through injury. He wanted away in the off-season. He's got a big 6 months coming up. So I think we're going to see him at his best under this kind of play that Mark Milligan has. It suits him well, and he's going to want to put himself in a big shot window to get a big move next time.
Yeah, agree. All right, time to look ahead. It's Christmas time, so of course there's a Melbourne derby to look forward to and analyse. And the timing for Melbourne Victory coming into this one, boys, as we just sort of touched on, thank God they got that result and the way that they got it as well, to get that confidence in Nikos Vergos to now come up against probably, you know, the toughest team in the comp to come up against. Them or Sydney FC, probably the 2 early standouts in the competition, and Victory have been struggling, but hopefully they can take some of this into this derby.
This is going to be a fantastic game. I think, you know, look at Melbourne Victory, you just touched on it, taking a lot of confidence from their performance last week against Adelaide. I think Juan Mata as well was very influential in that game. But Jason Davidson, who's, to be honest, by his own standards, been pretty poor to start the season. I thought he was great in this game as well. I think a lot of their big players and experienced players stood up when they needed to in this game, and it bodes well for them going into this game against Melbourne City, who, it has to be said, Macro, are going to be pretty well rested going into this one.
They are. They've obviously had the Asian campaign, so they're going to be just nice, ready to go on this one and chomping at the bit to get into the game. But when you look at Mata and we talk about how good of a player he is, we were discussing in the green room before, these are the areas of the park where balls go astray. You're trying to force things, you're trying to make 51 passes out of 54 success rate for an attacking midfielder who's pulling the strings, who's driving at players and rolling things in behind is phenomenal. And, you get the guys around him to do the actual legwork for him, and he can be one of the best players in the league and orchestrate this team. They are a good team, and him at the heart of it can cause many teams problems.
Completely agree, and I think the fact that he's second in the league for us, chances created behind Joe Lolly, but this was his first assist of the season, kind of speaks volumes of the problems they've been having. I think that kind of explains everything, but you touched on it. The passes he was making were not easy passes, so for him to have such a high completion rate is remarkable, really.
And this is exactly what we all hoped would happen when he went to Melbourne Victory, right? Because we saw him last season at the Wanderers, didn't get heaps of opportunities. Clearly the Wanderers couldn't see what Victory have seen, which is a way to harness this bloke's strengths, integrate them into the team, and as you said, Macca, let others do the legwork, because we know he's not fast, we know he's not going to cover a heap of ground, but what he has is an ability to spray passes and control tempo like no other player does. So I can't look at Juan Mata for Victory this season and not think, what the hell were they doing at the Wanderers last season? Like, how did they not get this out of him? How did they not even try harder to get this out of him? Because it looks like they've given him the keys, and that decision is absolutely paying off.
Yeah, I think obviously Melbourne Victory has been struggling in terms of the results, but I think his performances have been improving each week. It's just a matter of for them not being able to put the ball in the back of the net, which is something they seemingly have made steps to rectify. So I think that for Melbourne Victory, he's going to be the key man for them going forward in this season. I think if they can keep him fit, which is a big question mark at his age as well, there's no ceiling necessarily on what they can achieve.
Yeah. Let's hear from him now. Juan Mata speaking post-game to Paramount Plus.
It's incredible what a win can do, right? For the atmosphere, for the energy. We needed that win. We haven't been getting good results. I think at times it was not fair, the harsh results that we were having because of the performance were not that bad. But today I think we did a great game since the beginning until the end. We fought until the end, and we needed those 3 points, and it's clear to see how all the fans were waiting for this.
Yeah, look, I don't know if you've been in this sort of situation before where a team's really struggled, because every team that you seem to have played with has been amazing.
I know, I've struggled.
How do you, when players, maybe young players, haven't been in this sort of situation, this is a big club, Melbourne Victory, how have you sort of taken them under your arm to kind of go, look, we're going to get out of this period?
Yeah, I think in those moments it's important to don't lose faith in yourself, to keep doing what you're doing. We've been working really hard at training, and especially those players that maybe don't have that A-League experience, it's just about telling them that they are good players. If they're in Melbourne Victory, it's for a big reason. So I think everyone today showed that we belong here, and we are proud to represent this club, as you know really well, and hopefully this is a change of dynamic for the rest of the season.
The other thing I love about that bloke, by the way, is just how much he seems to have bought into the whole thing, Victory, the fan culture, etc., which he referenced a couple of times, and the A-League as well. Sometimes you have marquee players that looks like they're here to collect a check and it's like whatever, they don't really care. He seems to care.
Well, I think that's just the sign of the man. Everyone who deals with him and you speak to them, they just say he's just an absolute legend of a person, a good human being. And you know that when it comes across, he's got his charities and all the stuff he does in those areas as well, that he's just a guy who actually, when he goes into an area, he goes, okay, tell me about this area. I want to know about it. He doesn't just walk in blindly and say, I'm here and I'm out. It's, all right, fill me in with the stories. Give me the backstories. Like he's talking to Archie going, you know very well about this club, because he knows Archer's a legend at the club. It's great to see.
You can imagine other marquees in that scenario wouldn't even know who Archie Thompson is or what club he played for. And it's the little things that, to me, indicate this stuff that we're talking about.
And what a great role model he is on and off the field for the young players they have. And I think, he is a shining example of what being a great football professional is all about. And it's great to have him in the league.
Plenty of talk about him wanting to invest in the league as well. So maybe, you've got to do your research if you're going to do that as well.
Yeah.
I think back to the Victory in this game, it's going to be interesting to see what they do in the midfield because Mata had probably his best game of the season. Louis Dorigo was really good.
He was.
But I think Denny Genro's back available as well, and we know how well he started the season. I think in the first game
Can you change the team that played that way and won?
Big question, but I think against City in the first game they had, first derby, I thought Genro was probably the best player on the field. So it's a big decision for Dillis, that one.
Yeah, agree. So let's hear a little bit now from the man who's going to make that decision, Arthur Dillis.
What does a derby mean to you at this stage of the season when you still want to improve?
Well, tonight will mean nothing if we don't turn up again next week. And, it's only a game. So next week is another game that you have to back up. And this league is very difficult. And people don't give it the credit that they should. Every team is difficult. And if you don't turn up and you don't give your best, you're not going to win. And we have to turn up again, that's for sure. But whether it's Melbourne City or anyone for that matter, the fact that it's a derby back-to-back at home, it's just beautiful to be back in front of our home fans.
So the Christmas derby, probably the biggest highlight on the Melbourne City calendar. I think that's sensational. I'm not sure why it's taken us 21 years of this league to get a promotional shot like that for this fixture, which is just amazing. More of it. We should have him on this show as a guest next week. I'll talk to Nick Stoll to see if we can arrange that. But they're going to be we touched on it before, and possibly something that we don't recognise enough in this country is how much it takes it out of the teams who play in Asia to simply compete and get on those planes. I can't think of a single league anywhere in the world that requires players to do so much regular travel. And it kills you, man. I struggle after flying from Sydney to Melbourne. How about these blokes going 8, 12 hours to other places, then coming back midweek and then having to back up? So when you look at City now having rested themselves and they've got this period over Christmas where they don't have those Asian commitments, I'm expecting to see a real ramping up.
Agree, and I think it's on many fronts that it's challenging because it's obviously the physical that you just touched on, the time away from family, but it's also they haven't had a week on the training paddock to work on the things that Aurelio Vidmar wants to work on for a long time. And when you take into account the number of players they got coming back from injury, like Nate Atkinson, I think that week on the training paddock, letting players recover that need to recover who have had huge loads, because I think if you look at someone like Max Caputo, his form in the last few weeks, I think has tapered off a little bit, which is very understandable with the load that he's been put under. But I think they're going to go into this game knowing what it's all about, feeling fresh and hungry, and it's going to be a big challenge for Victory.
Yeah. The rested part, the fact that they know they don't have Asia coming up. Asia, you also didn't even mention that you can go from 35 degrees in Australia to 0 degrees when you go up to Asia because you're crossing the equator. It all adds up. And they've had their problems with injuries again. And we saw how well they got through that last year and they kept going on with you, Vince. I think teams will be looking at Melbourne City in this next 6-week period and going, ooh, this is going to be a tough one.
Yeah, wouldn't want to face them. So good luck to Victory. I think it's going to be a cracking game. They always are, these Christmas derbies. So very much looking forward to it. Also looking forward to Newcastle and Sydney. Macca, we're going to get you over to the Tactician screen soon enough to break down the defensive side of Newcastle and what Sydney did last time to break them open. But on the other side of things, what did you see from their game against Wellington that gave you optimism?
Well, it's everything, all the good things that we see from Mark Milligan's style of football. He's got Eli Adams back, he's got Clayton Taylor back, so they're starting to get their full contingent to availability of players. But they move the ball so well. When they go forward, they have the mantra is we play forward and trust that the players will go forward and be around the ball as well. Lockie Rose getting his goal, who's always a thorn in the side of defenders as well. But they just play such good 1- and 2-touch football. And look at the movement. It is all go forward. And I think that could be the downfall at times with their defending, which we'll go into later. But when they're going forward and it works, there's not many teams in the team that look as good in the league,
I think that from a neutral perspective, they're probably the most entertaining team in the league. I think every time they're playing, I can't wait to watch the game because you know it's going to be open, you know there's going to be goals. And as you said, that can be a curse as well as a blessing. But when it goes well, I think we saw on the weekend what happens. Going forward, the passes were sticking, they had forward runs. But I think their rest defence too, which I'm sure you'll touch on in the Tactician shortly. But I think that's something that was a lot better in this game. And I think that, the result speaks for itself.
Yeah, and they did this as well with Eli Adams was back but came on after 5 minutes because of an injury to Max Burgess, who's been one of their better players.
Yeah.
I don't expect we'll see him in this game or potentially for a little while after that. But I suppose the other 85 minutes shows that they don't necessarily need him to make sure that they're purring in the way that they can do, which is good for them. Speaking of Eli Adams, this is what he had to say after the game on the weekend.
We've still got a long way to go. We're growing every day as a team, but it's a really good step in the right direction. Like you said, we've scored a lot of goals. Today we took advantage of all the chances we created, but again, we could have scored a lot more as well. It could have finished 5-6-1. Myself particularly, I missed a fair few, but it's a really important win today, and we'll take that going into next week.
So as we mentioned, Newcastle Jets have a lot of work to do on the defensive end. They've conceded more goals in the A-League this season than any other team, 17 in 8 games. And the last time they played Sydney FC, Daniel McBreen, Al-Hassan Toure went to town, didn't he?
He did, got himself a hat-trick, and it came off the back of Newcastle trying to play out and the counter-attacking football that Sydney had there. Now, what we're going to focus on here is Newcastle's got the ball deep. Let's have a look at the two fullbacks. They're in high positions, but particularly watch here as well. As they're under pressure here in the high area, fullbacks still starting to move forward. They win the ball, 3v2 situation. Overlapping runs makes the defender drop off. Bang, goal straight away. No chance for the fullbacks to get back and help in the positioning there. They just go, and they didn't seem to recognise the danger as well. They're still moving forward when they were getting in danger.
Yeah, I think it's important when you do have the possession of the ball that not both fullbacks go blindly. You often have to play with the space and kind of be in a half-half position so that if you do lose the ball, you can recover quickly, and that's something they didn't do in that example.
Yeah, exactly right. Let's have another look at it. This is the next goal we see here. Again, Newcastle in the ball. Here goes the fullbacks, one high. Another one here, starting to move forward, almost going up towards the front line. As we let the play go on here and the play unfolds, Newcastle go to play forward. They win. Out of the screen altogether, can't see. Still under pressure, still can't see our fullback. Almost as a winger here. And look, can't get back. Again, 3v2 in this situation here. One fullback, the other one here can't even get close because he's not even in the screen. And bang, it's another goal and a 3v2 situation for Sydney FC.
And I think you have to look at, from a Sydney FC perspective at those clips you're just showing. I think they did really well in this game at crowding out Newcastle centrally because you know how much Newcastle likes to play the ball through the channels and they're sweating on it. They're waiting for it to happen and pouncing. And I think Newcastle in this next game is going to have to be a lot more patient and secure with the ball.
Well, on that though, I saw something, I don't know if we can go back earlier in that passage, that second goal that we just saw, but the importance for the Newcastle Jets in terms of making the correct decisions when they're passing as well, because there was an inboard pass there that I saw that could have been taken right here, that you see there. Instead of going into the traffic areas on the wing, they might have saved themselves a lot more time and hassle. They might have even broken out on the left had they gone inside on that occasion. And I think that is probably what more of, not to say that there aren't things in defence that Mark Milligan needs to tighten up, of course there are, but when you want to be an attacking team of this calibre, and, this has happened loads of times with Ange Postecoglou's teams as well, you need to dominate the game and make sure that you create chances and score goals so that your style of play suppresses the opposition.
And I think that number 6 and number 8 roles in the teams that play like this are so important because in those positions, if you turn over the ball, you can see what can happen. But at the same time, if you're able to progress the ball and break the lines, you have every chance of creating a goal-scoring chance. So those two positions, and I think Costa Grossos early in the season was probably guilty of turning the ball over a little bit too easily, but we saw on the weekend he had a great game.
Yeah.
I think he's going to be key.
You need to be a good decision maker in those areas because you want to play 1 and 2 touch football, and we'll see Sydney done it perfect here. Look, again, they're high and wide here, but look at Joe Lolly and these guys here. They're making sure that the ball can't go through there, and look how compact it is in this area. Look how long that pass is that they try to play in here. Sydney has actually baited this perfectly. They're like, well, you're not going to play it wide because we can cut that out. Go on, we dare you to play in here. As the ball gets played, watch Joe Lolly's movement. He was waiting for that. He knew that's where the pass was going, and bang, they go again with pace. They can't keep up. Here's the defenders back here. Again, one trying to get back, can't because he's so high. The other one not even in the screen again, and it's a 3v2 situation. They go through, and Al-Hassan Toure gets his hat-trick. Now, we've seen this from Newcastle in a lot of their games this year, but they have improved it. And the games that they've done well is when those defenders, they have to find that balance of when they throw bodies forward, or do they just temper it a little bit and sit back and go, okay, we can go half-half so we can recover in those situations.
I think from Sydney FC's perspective too, you've obviously got Walatee probably coming in the team again this week, which he didn't play in that last game. That's even more pace and more speed that they're going to have on the counter that they don't normally when Joe Lolly plays. So I think the margins are going to be slim for Newcastle, and they're going to have to learn their lesson from last time.
Yeah, agree. So lots to work on for the Newcastle Jets. Good work by you, the Tactician. Appreciate it, mate. Come back to the desk when you're ready, mate. We're going to change it up a little bit. We're going to talk about some of the Aussie players who are overseas at the moment. We're 2 weeks away from the January transfer season window, opening up. And in a World Cup year, there's a lot of guys, I think, who will be assessing their options and thinking about a possible switch back to the A-League. And we've got a few highlights of players that we've seen in the league recently who have departed that we'll run through. But the first one, Nicholas Milanovic, the Johnny Warren medalist from last season, had an unbelievable campaign for the Wanderers. He's really struggling at Aberdeen. He hasn't started for them since September. He came there with a lot of promise. It's obviously not worked out the way that he had anticipated. What do you do if you're in his position, Macca?
For me, I'm staying. I'm staying there. Look, he's killed it here. He's shown that he can do it in Australia. I think he's trying to break his way into the team over there. But I think to come back after only being away for 5 or 6 months is, and I don't want to say it's almost like a failure, but that team would then look at you and go, oh, you want to go back there? Well, you're trying to break into here, you're going back to Australia. I think people would see that then as a step back because he's only just gone. I think he has to forge through and think more about his long-term career here than what's going to happen in the next 8 months. And who's to say that in the next couple of months he doesn't break into the team there, score a couple of goals, and as I said last week, you score a couple, everything's perspective changes, and then he goes on a run. Yeah. If I'm Milanovic, I'm staying over there and thinking the long-term objective.
Yeah, and I think, as we spoke about in the green room as well, you've got to make the calculation if you're in this position. What are my chances of making the World Cup squad? How critical will I be if I get in there, and how many players are in front of me in my position? So Milanovic, for instance, top player, but I think there's quite a few wing and attacking options that will be ahead of him in the pecking order that makes it probably not worth coming back, because if you come back and you don't go as well, or even if you do as well as what you did last season, you're only up at like par sort of thing.
And if he does do as well as he did last season I think he made one Socceroos appearance with Popper, and he was the best player in the league. So, that's the benchmark, and he still maybe would miss out. So it's like, as you just said, I don't know. I agree with Macca. I think in that example, I would be sticking over there and playing the long game.
Yeah. Somewhat different story for Ryan Teague, who not very long ago at all, we were super excited about his short-term Socceroos prospects after his fantastic starting debut, I think it was, in China.
Yeah.
It was magnificent in that game. But he's since gone to Belgium. He's played 34 minutes at his club there. And again, I think there's a few blokes ahead of him in the pecking order for the Socceroos.
That's probably the most stacked position in the Socceroos and the most competitive one. You look at someone like Cammy Devlin, who hasn't played many games for the Socceroos lately, and he's been one of the best players in Scotland this season. So I think, again, at his age and what he's done, I think he just needs to stick to his guns and back himself to get in the team over there, but not jump the gun and come back too early.
Yeah,
agreed.
Cassini Yengi, different category, I think, not only because he's a little bit older, but because his prospects, so he went to Aberdeen with Milanovic, no exaggeration to say he's one of the most disliked players, unfortunately, at Aberdeen. Just hasn't worked out for him. And I don't think he'll have a whole heap of options available to him to play minutes quickly. Whereas in the A-League, I think there's a couple of teams that could do with a player like him, and he knows the league. I think he'd come in and do pretty well to start with.
I agree. I think he's a player, just because how it's panned out at his club now, where he has fallen out of favour so quickly, that I think he's a player that could look to reignite himself by coming back. He's been over there for a little while now. It's not like he's just gone for that journey. Could come back here and then revitalise himself at a club, being a standout over here.
Yeah. Again, another category, Mitch Duke, another striker, but older, obviously. And then there's the different things happening in Japan. So the Japanese season is changing. It's going from what we're used to, which is a calendar year season from January through, to be in line with the European season and our season, of course, and now the way that the AFC Champions League works as well. So what's happening there is from January for 6 months until the middle of the year, they've got a separate tournament. I think it's called the 100-Year Vision Tournament in Japan, which means there's still going to be games on in the Japanese league, but I think the clubs are talking to players on a case-by-case basis. I think also knowing it's a World Cup year and asking them, what do you want to do? Because if you want to go on loan for 6 months, we'll facilitate.
Because essentially it's not a real league. It's, it'll be competitive, but people want competitive football. I know for a fact that Juki's been talking to A-League clubs. I think he might have made his mind up already where he's going to go. I know there's plenty that have wanted him or reached out to him. But he's not the only one in Japan as well. There's a couple of Socceroos guys who we saw at Melbourne Victory's game on the weekend as well, that it applies to them as well, that you think, well, why wouldn't you come here? If you're involved and you've been playing there, your league isn't really going to be happening. Well, this league, you're going to get in, you're going to get game time. I think this is a perfect opportunity. Go on.
Yeah, no, I agree. But I think especially for Juki and Yengi, I think that number 9 position for the Socceroos, I still think there's a little bit of wiggle room in Popovic's squad. I don't think he's made his mind up yet.
I think Touré's the starter, but I think the second and possibly third, depending on how he structures his squad and all that, those spots are completely up for grabs.
And also, Touré's made a great impact off the bench for the Socceroos when he's come on as well. So I still think that he might not start all 3 games. And, it could be the fact that Mitch Duke comes on, runs the team ragged for 60 minutes, and then you bring on someone like him against a tired defence. I think there's a lot of merit in that. And I think that Juki and Yengi will be looking at that as well. Yeah.
Last one we'll look at is Daniel Arzani, who is probably in the Yengi bracket in terms of doesn't have a whole lot of options, or I can't imagine he would. Obviously, we all know he's a pretty special player on his day, and Tony Popovic really rates him. Yeah. He went to Hungary at Ferencváros, which I think was a great move for a player like him. Yep. Unfortunately, he's been caught out in a situation relating to the Hungarian league, and I think the amount of foreign players, and there was a change after he'd signed, and he's sort of frozen out. You can look at that sort of any way you want. You can also look at it and say, well, if you were performing at the level that we know that you absolutely can, you'd be one of those foreign players who made the cut, which is harsh, but it is what it is. But Arzani might be looking at this situation and thinking, look, I'll come home somewhere I'm loved and valued, and under a national team coach who I know will be watching and thinks that I have something special that other players in our national team sort of pool don't have. Bit of a no-brainer for me.
And Popper, he obviously was famously kind of criticised him publicly when he first took over, and then he brought him back in, and he has obviously a good relationship with him. And I think for him to come back would be a no-brainer. But I think it must be said as well, Arzani's had a few A-League clubs now, a few where it probably didn't work out, and he's burnt a few bridges. So, obviously he would add quality to any squad in the A-League, but at the same time, I think clubs would probably look at him closely before committing to him.
Interesting times ahead. Tommy, take us through your team of the week, please, bro.
Yep, so gone for a bit of a Sydney FC flavour defensively with Devonish Mears, Alex Grant and Tisserand at the back, and then Valadon and Matto in the midfield, who both had outstanding matches. And then front third, Lockie Brook, Vergos, who we spoke about earlier in the show with 2 goals.
He must be your captain, yeah?
He actually, De Vries is my captain.
Right.
I thought De Vries was fantastic in his game, and he's just the most, for me, he's probably one of the most consistent players in the league. I think he's fantastic, and Eli Adams, great to see him back amongst the goals.
Yeah. Can I just say as well, we talk a lot about, Joe Lolly and other blokes at Sydney FC as well, but how important it is that they've got that sort of foundation there in defence with not only Alex Grant, who they brought in last season, he got injured. Yeah. So we were wondering, is he actually going to be fit enough to do what he... Marcel Tisserand had a stinker first up, and I think initially we're all a bit like, this might not work out. Well, that's working out. Yeah. And then Harrison Devonish Mears, who I think we're all sort of taking the piss out of at some stages last season. And, we don't try to be disrespectful in that sense, but that's just how he was going. Massive credit to have turned it around. He wasn't supposed to be their number one. Yeah. They were planning for Herfslet to be their number one. And he's performed well enough at a level, consistently enough.
He's been great.
To change their minds.
And I think defensively is where they've made the biggest improvement, because you look at someone like Jordan Courtney-Perkins, who last year played every game, was one of the mainstays in that team. He's probably third choice left back now behind Joel King and Ben Garuccio. So you just look at the
when you look at Garuccio and Ryan Grant in that back four as well, you're like...
These are some of the best fullbacks and centre-backs in the league. So I think that Ulfie deserves a lot of credit.
Yeah, agree. Yeah. Let's look ahead to the fixtures coming up this weekend in round 9. And off the bat, every game this weekend there will be a moment's silence before kick-off, just to commemorate the victims of the horrific Bondi massacre. Our thoughts go out to everyone affected there. A really difficult time for Australia. And of course, it's touched Australian football as well, with one of the victims playing for Rockdale Illendon. So, horrible stuff. But elsewhere, Macarthur FC continue to mount their challenge to Auckland FC in the off-field shenanigans stakes. They've got some stuff going on there for their game against Brisbane Roar. There's an elf on the shelf situation. I believe there'll be a few of those planted around the stadium, and if you can find it and take it to the merchandise stand. You might get something free in return. So well done there. They've also got a Christmas food drive. So they're encouraging supporters to bring non-perishable food items to the ground to donate to Southwest Sydney Family Connect and support, which we applaud as well. And then there's a Christmas costume contest. So dress up for your chance to take part in their Christmas catwalk at halftime. Macca, what do you...
Catwalk, I'm in. Tommy, that got me with catwalk.
Yeah, your one weekness.
Got a Santi Mankini on the way.
That's it. And that's not all. Wellington have got a 2-for-1 offer for both of their Nixmas matches this weekend.
Right.
You know, clever,
okay.
Nice little
clever pun. I don't mind that.
They spent a whole 90 seconds on that one.
Yeah, the marketing department at Wellington Phoenix has absolutely earned their keep with that one. Funny stuff. So lots to look forward to this weekend in the A-League. And let's look back one last time as well. Obviously, we spoke about the Melbourne Derby earlier. The last time they played, or at least in a major game, was the grand final. And here's how it played out.
Amy Park, a venue built for these sort of occasions. It's the 48th Melbourne Derby, and this one is the biggest one of the lot. Druid's outball is a good one. Aziz Bajic. Here's Andreas Kuhn, City's first chance off the crossbar, and the follow-up is rifled into the goal by Jonathan Cohen. It is City who strike first in the grand final. Really good block. Matt Leckie at the near post, chance here for Victory to get square. It's Mashash. Plenty of opportunities for Victory, but as yet, no way through. Still there for Bajic, and arriving in the back post. So that's a really lovely save too.
I don't know if there's anyone tougher in the comp. He's an incredible athlete. Look at him go.
There's a little bit of a shoot front going on. It's the latest little skirmish, the intense conversation with Daniel Arzani. And the Melbourne City fans have got their toilet seats aloft in the air. It's Teague's delivery. Back post. That was a clear-sided goal for Josh Rawlins.
It's as close as they've come.
The whistle goes. So often the bridesmaids. Melbourne City, champions of Australia for a second time.
Great stuff. Another big Christmas derby to look forward to. In the meantime, Nalin, welcome back to the desk.
Thank you. Well, let's kick off with the whole Melbourne derby that's coming up this weekend. Now, I think everyone will agree the Sydney derby probably the biggest fixture on the calendar, but you could make the argument that in terms of best memories and moments, Melbourne may have one over them. And we're going to reflect on our favourite memories. And Vince, starting with you, it's Bruno Fornaroli's Rabono galore.
I mean, this goal was sick and it was a great pleasure to revisit it yesterday because sometimes in the A-League you forget some of the amazing stuff that we see. So this move here, I think this was the 2015-16 season, so Bruno starts it from the halfway line with a Rabono pass for no reason whatsoever. And Aaron Moy, Bruno just drifts behind, and you don't have to finish it like that. He didn't have to use a Rabono pass at the start as well. But this was peak Bruno. This was almost peak City, to be honest, when they had Aaron Moy absolutely cooking in this team as well. That was so much fun to watch.
I think when you look at some of the players who, in this passage of play, who got the ball, I forgot a lot of them played for City, and that definitely is a throwback. But I loved also, I think we said it off air, Macca, that tackle he did at the start of that passage. That was just vintage Fornaroli.
Yeah, typical South American. Not only will I smash you and break you to win the challenge, but then I'm going to add a little bit of flair to it as well at the start and then just at the end too, just to really rub it in your face. I love it.
Yeah, so good. So good. They were, like, honestly, that era of the Melbourne Derby and City in particular, I think we forget how good it was back then.
It was peak.
Yeah.
Tommy, with yours, you've gone for the icon in Timmy Cahill, that 35-yard half volley.
I mean, I think only he could do this as well. I think this was his first game for Melbourne City back in the A-League, and obviously in the first half, there's a lot of hype around him and expectation as well. First time playing football in Australia in the A-League, and for him to do that, I mean, like I said, only he could do that. He was such a moments player and always seemed to find a way to get a great goal.
I have a feeling that I was at home watching this one and actually screamed so loud my wife was like, "What's going on?" I was like, "What's this?"
I remember just being like, not even shocked, just a bit like, of course he did.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
It's a big moment, like you want to announce yourself. Of course Timmy's going to freaking pull something like that out.
Yeah.
Unreal. They don't make them like that anymore.
They don't.
Macca, your one is from recent times, Paul Izzo's heroics in the elimination final.
Yeah, look, we've seen some good goalkeeper performances in penalty shootouts. Liam Reddy comes to mind when there was that epic one, but this has got to be up there in A-League history. Not only is he just saved 2 and just it's very nonchalant, I'm not getting carried away. It's a penalty shootout, plenty to go. Oh, I'm actually that confident, I'm just going to step up and take one as well and just smash it into the roof of the net. And this is, some people say that for goalkeepers, it should be normal because, you know, they get goal kicks and just hit it like a goal kick, but they don't do this very often. So go on the other side of the foot in front of some of his teammates and then to step up and turn around the other side.
He doesn't move. He doesn't even blink.
That's what I like about it. Each thing, it's just like, whatever.
Yeah.
This is just normal.
It reminds me of the Zlatan quote, you know, a postman doesn't celebrate when he delivers the post. It's exactly like that.
There's a bit of that, but there's also, like, where's he going to go? He's got to stay there. Like, after scoring his penalty, if he's going to start sprinting away in celebration, it's a short sprint. It's like 7 metres. You may as well just like be like, oh, well, sweet.
Still just chill.
They come to me.
That's
Aura,
what
I think. The kids
I was going to say, the kids call it aura. Now, mine's a Timmy Cahill one. You guys all went for these amazing moments. I'm going for when he got a red card before a ball was even kicked. And have a little look at, he was the manager at the time, Michael Valkanis. And so what happened here, right? So Melbourne Victory got a goal, I believe it was an own goal. It was not even given to them. And then suddenly there was cries for offside. They awarded the goal. And before he came on, had a couple words with the referee. I think the quote was, have a beep look at the big screen, and clearly they weren't having any of it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Pretty harsh, I think.
It's a bit harsh.
But you know, also Joe Montemurro on the bench. He's still in the background, but that's I'm sure he's experienced the highs and the lows.
Just how confused he is as well. Like, what? He says me? Red card.
Okay, now we cannot wait to see more moments in that derby, but let's now have a little moment to, I guess, pay our respect to Francis de Vries because he got humbled. And, you know, it was Auckland who got the win, but bless him, he was walking around and a stranger asked if he could take a photo of her and her friend. Now, he hopped in the photo, taking a selfie, thinking that they wanted one with him. They actually had no idea who he was. And she went on Facebook as well after, be like, oh, famous footballer, wish you guys good luck. Good sport. But do you know what, Francis? You're not alone, mate, because there was a bloke, I don't know if you know, Lionel Messi, back in the day. He was asked to take a photo of a taxi driver just to get one with Mascherano. Now, he's a good player, but to do that to Messi, even if he did end up getting a photo with Messi, it's still a bit disrespectful.
I think that's really funny.
I'm all for it.
As long as you get the photo with Messi as well, I think it's fair play.
I bet Mascherano has never let him live that down.
And I must say, that Terrigal boardwalk one, I walk across that boardwalk every day of my life. I've also never been asked for a photo.
How many times have you been humbled in Terrigal?
Oh, most days.
Alrighty, now his teammate, Callan Elliott. Unfortunately for him, he scored an own goal, but what a banger it was.
Oh.
If that went the other way, we would all be sitting here being like, yeah, brilliant header.
What's a rocket into the roof of the net?
Use the neck muscles as well.
If I was him, I'd just get AI to swap the jersey that he's wearing and put it on his highlight reel and just cut it short.
Change the commentary.
Yeah, you'll be sweet, man. Don't worry about it.
The keeper also acknowledges, like, oh, yeah, fair play.
Yeah.
But
it can happen. Yeah.
It happens.
Yeah.
And it's happened back in the day. Let's have a look at some of the best finishes with our A-Leagues download friend in
What a ball.
Savolosky. This
Rare.
was for...
Normie, what are you doing? Look, that was made at 5-0 and Normie is at that point, you can tell in his face.
He's trying pretty hard
and
to
nothing
not
else
piss
can go
himself.
any worse here.
Exactly.
We've got to laugh this off because
If you don't laugh,
I'm
you'll
going to cry.
Another one, that was actually Melbourne Heart's first ever goal in the A-Leagues. It was
who can forget?
Ben
Historic.
Kantovosky. I mean,
Go on, Canna, bend it in.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah.
Perfectly chipped it over his
That
head.
was.
Great weight to
You
that.
couldn't do that again if you tried.
And do you know what? He should hold his head because little does he know that all that hair's going to go soon. So he's trying to hold it there. But what a finish. Look at the whip
was.
on that. Woof. Started about
Guides it
6
over him.
metres outside the post and bends it in.
Speaking of hair, Ben Kennedy.
Yeah, lush locks.
One of the I shouldn't be throwing stones. I'm just going to stop right there.
oh, good.
Yeah, well, on that highly humorous note, thanks, Nalin.
Thanks, Vince.
Thanks,
Pleasure.
guys. Happy days. One more show for the year. Next week, we'll see you here.